Thank you, Destiny. Breaking overnight in Birmingham, a woman found dead on her driveway.
This happened in the Crestwood community about 1:45 this morning. Birmingham police say they found a 21-year-old named Nickson dead in a driveway. Investigators say that she had been shot. Now, right now, there's no one in custody. Officer Truman Fitzgerald, though, told WBRC what they know so far.
We believe she was at the residence when someone came here to the 800 block of Greencrest Turn and shot her. And as you can hear behind us, families upset. They just lost their loved one.
The blue light of a smartphone screen illuminated Mia Nickson's face as she addressed her Facebook Live audience on that fateful January night in 2024. At just 21 years old, the aspiring nail technician and stylist from Birmingham, Alabama, had built a following who tuned in regularly to witness her unfiltered commentary and magnetic personality. "Y'all see this? This what I'm talking about," Mia said, her voice rising with each word as she leaned closer to the camera. The comments section flooded with reactions, hearts, angry faces, and messages of support scrolling past in real time. What began as casual conversation had suddenly shifted into dangerous territory. On the other end of this digital confrontation was someone known only as Youngster, whose accusations about a robbery setup had ignited Mia's fury. The tension between them, building for weeks through indirect social media jabs, had finally erupted into direct confrontation. "You know damn well I ain't have nothing to do with that," Mia fired back, her eyes flashing with indignation. "Stop putting my name in stuff." The viewers watching couldn't have known that this heated exchange would be the last time many would see Mia alive. They couldn't have known that in less than 30 minutes after ending her broadcast, gunshots would echo through her neighborhood on Greencrest Turn. They couldn't have known that by 1:45 a.m., Birmingham police would be standing over her body in her driveway. Social media had transformed from a platform for self-expression into something far more consequential. For Mia Nickson, who had already survived one shooting that left her with significant injuries, the boundaries between online conflict and physical danger had become fatally blurred. The digital footprint she left behind that night, the words exchanged, the accusations hurled, the threats implied, would soon become crucial evidence in a murder investigation. Her final broadcast, preserved forever in the digital realm, would serve as both her last words and a timeline leading directly to her death. What happened in those critical 30 minutes between Mia ending her Facebook Live and the moment she was shot? How did an online argument escalate so quickly to deadly violence? And who was responsible for silencing this young woman's voice permanently? Before we continue with Mia's story, I want to ask you, have you witnessed dangerous social media confrontations in your own life? The line between virtual threats and real-world consequences grows thinner every day. Share your experiences in the comments below. Your insight might help someone recognize when online conflict is becoming truly dangerous. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications to join the Dark Trace community. We investigate the cases others won't touch, bringing you the raw truth behind today's most shocking crimes. Born and raised in Birmingham, Alabama, Mia Nickson was carving out her path in life at just 21 years old. Those who knew her described a young woman with ambition and talent, particularly in the beauty industry. Mia was working diligently to establish herself as a nail technician and stylist, showcasing her creative designs and techniques on social media platforms where she built a substantial following. Officer Truman Fitzgerald of the Birmingham Police Department would later describe her as beloved, talented, and excelling in the hair and nail field. Her artistic flair was evident in her work, intricate nail designs and hairstyles that demonstrated both technical skill and creative vision. For Mia, this wasn't just a job, but a passion she hoped to transform into a thriving career. But Mia's life story wasn't defined solely by her professional aspirations. Like many young adults in challenging urban environments, she navigated a complex social landscape that sometimes intersected with trouble. According to those familiar with her history, Mia had previous encounters with law enforcement for drug trafficking. The most significant event in her recent past occurred in late 2022, when Mia became the victim of a shooting that nearly claimed her life. The incident happened during a neighborhood dispute that escalated rapidly to violence. Mia was caught in the crossfire, sustaining multiple gunshot wounds that left her with permanent disabilities. The bullets caused devastating damage, leaving her partially blind in her right eye and with significant hearing loss in her right ear. She also walked with a pronounced limp from a bullet that shattered bones in her left leg, requiring extensive surgery and months of painful rehabilitation. For many who knew her, this horrific incident should have served as a wake-up call, a stark warning about the dangers of street conflicts and the fragility of life. Mia spent weeks in the hospital, undergoing multiple surgeries as doctors fought to repair the damage to her body. The recovery process was grueling, marked by physical therapy sessions where she had to relearn basic movements and adapt to her new sensory limitations. Despite these profound challenges, Mia demonstrated remarkable resilience. Within 6 months of the shooting, she had returned to pursuing her career in beauty, adapting her techniques to accommodate her partial blindness. She learned to rely more heavily on her left side, developing compensatory strategies that allowed her to continue creating the intricate nail designs that were becoming her signature. The physical scars from the shooting were visible to anyone who met her. The slight tilt of her head to hear better with her functioning ear, the subtle adjustments she made when focusing on detailed nail work, the careful way she navigated spaces due to her compromised depth perception and mobility. But beyond these physical markers, the psychological impact ran deep. Friends noted that Mia became more vigilant, more aware of her surroundings, though perhaps not cautious enough given what would ultimately transpire. Family was an important aspect of Mia's life. She lived in a home on Greencrest Turn in Birmingham, where she resided with family members. On the night of her murder, others were present inside the residence, though they escaped physical harm during the attack that claimed her life. Perhaps most notably, Mia had cultivated a significant online presence that became central to both her personal and professional identity. Her Facebook profile served as a platform where she regularly engaged with followers through live streams and posts. Her Facebook Live sessions, in particular, had become something of a local phenomenon. During these broadcasts, Mia would speak candidly about her life, share opinions on community matters, and sometimes engage in heated discussions about ongoing disputes. This digital presence had made Mia extremely popular, as police would later note when investigating her murder. Her influence extended beyond just friends and family to a wider audience who followed her activities and updates. In these online spaces, Mia cultivated relationships, built her personal brand, and unfortunately, sometimes became entangled in conflicts that played out publicly. The intersection of Mia's professional ambitions, personal history, and social media presence created a multifaceted portrait of a young woman striving for success, while navigating the challenges of her environment. For Mia Nickson, social media wasn't just a pastime. It was an extension of her identity, a business tool, and ultimately, a factor in the events that led to her untimely death on that January night in 2024. At approximately 1:30 a.m. on January 10, 2024, Mia Nickson ended her Facebook Live broadcast and set her phone down. What happened in the next crucial half hour would become a focus of a murder investigation that would shake the Birmingham community. According to neighbors who later spoke with investigators, Mia received a phone call shortly after ending her live stream. The content of this call remains unknown, but witnesses reported seeing her exit her home on Greencrest Turn at approximately 1:40 a.m. She appeared agitated, moving quickly despite her permanent limp, and headed toward her driveway, where her car was parked. Security footage from a neighboring home captured partial images of what happened next. A dark-colored sedan with tinted windows pulled up near Mia's residence at 1:43 a.m. The vehicle's headlights switched off as it came to a stop. Due to the camera angle and poor lighting conditions, the make and model of the car couldn't be definitively identified, nor could the number of occupants inside. What is clear from the footage is that Mia approached the vehicle, stopping about 10 feet away. There appears to have been a brief verbal exchange, though no audio was captured by the security system. Then, in a matter of seconds, muzzle flashes illuminated the darkness. Multiple gunshots. Neighbors would later report hearing between 4 and 6 distinct shots. Broke the night silence. Mia collapsed immediately onto her concrete driveway. The vehicle's headlights switched back on, and it sped away from the scene, turning right at the end of Green Crest Turn and disappearing from the camera's view. At 1:45 a.m., just 2 minutes after the shooting, the first 911 call came in from Mia's residence. The caller, later identified as Mia's cousin, who had been inside the home during the Facebook Live session, reported hearing gunshots and finding Mia unresponsive in the driveway. The dispatcher instructed the caller to check for signs of life and attempt first aid if possible. According to the 911 transcript, the caller described a horrific scene. She's been shot multiple times. There's blood everywhere. Please hurry. The dispatcher kept the caller on the line while emergency services were dispatched to the address. Birmingham Police Department officers arrived at 1:52 a.m., 7 minutes after the initial 911 call. They found Mia lying face up in the driveway, approximately 15 feet from her front door. She had sustained multiple gunshot wounds to her torso and one to her head. Officers immediately secured the scene and attempted life-saving measures until Birmingham Fire and Rescue Service personnel arrived at 1:58 a.m. Despite their efforts, medical first responders pronounced Mia Nickson dead at the scene at 2:04 a.m., just 34 minutes after she had ended her Facebook Live broadcast. Inside the home, officers found 4 family members, including Mia's cousin who had made the 911 call, her aunt, and 2 younger relatives. None of them had been physically harmed during the shooting, but all were visibly distraught. According to the police report, they had heard the gunshots but didn't witness the actual shooting, having only gone outside after the vehicle had fled. One family member told officers at the scene about the heated Facebook Live confrontation that had occurred just before the murder, immediately directing investigators toward the social media angle. She was arguing with someone called Youngster, the family member reported. He was making threats about coming to our house. By 2:15 a.m., the Birmingham Police Department had established a perimeter around the crime scene, stretching yellow tape across the entrance to Green Crest Turn. Crime scene technicians arrived to collect evidence, photographing the scene and marking the locations of shell casings found in the street. Evidence that would later confirm the shooter had fired from inside the vehicle rather than exiting it. As dawn broke over Birmingham on January 10, 2024, the investigation into the city's second homicide of the year was already focused on the digital footprint Mia had left behind, a Facebook Live video that would serve as both her final communication and a crucial piece of evidence in identifying her killer. By sunrise on January 10, 2024, the Birmingham Police Department had transformed Green Crest Turn into an active crime scene. Detectives from the homicide unit arrived shortly after first responders, taking command of what would become one of the department's highest-profile cases of the year. Detective Marcus Williams, the lead investigator assigned to the case, immediately recognized the potential significance of the Facebook Live video mentioned by Mia's family members. Within hours of the shooting, technicians from the Digital Forensics Unit had secured a copy of a broadcast before it could be removed from the platform. This quick action preserved crucial evidence that would later prove instrumental in identifying suspects. The preliminary examination of the crime scene yielded several key findings. 5 shell casings recovered from the street were identified as 9mm rounds, suggesting the shooter used a handgun. The positioning of the casings indicated the shots were fired from a vehicle rather than by someone standing outside. Blood spatter analysis confirmed that Mia had been standing in her driveway when she was struck, falling backward upon impact. The medical examiner arrived at approximately 4:30 a.m. to conduct an initial assessment before Mia's body was transported to the coroner's office. The preliminary report noted 4 gunshot wounds, 2 to the chest, 1 to the abdomen, and 1 to the right temple. The head wound was determined to be the likely cause of death, with the examiner estimating that Mia had died almost instantly after being shot. By mid-morning, news of the murder had spread throughout Birmingham. Local television stations broke into regular programming with live reports from Green Crestwood, where neighbors gathered behind police lines, many visibly shaken by the violence that had erupted in their community. At noon, Officer Truman Fitzgerald, Public Information Officer for the Birmingham Police Department, held a press conference outside department headquarters. At approximately 1:45 a.m. this morning, Birmingham police responded to a report of shots fired in the 800 block of Green Crestwood, Fitzgerald stated. Upon arrival, officers discovered 21-year-old Mia Nickson unresponsive in her driveway with gunshot wounds. Birmingham Fire and Rescue pronounced her deceased at the scene. Fitzgerald continued, Ms. Nickson was beloved, talented, and was excelling in the hair and nail field. She was extremely popular, and we believe the streets are talking. Her family is hurting, and they want justice in her case. The police department made a direct appeal to the public for information, emphasizing that anonymous tips could be submitted through Crime Stoppers. We believe this was not a random act of violence, Fitzgerald added. Ms. Nickson appears to have been specifically targeted, and we are pursuing several leads at this time. By the afternoon of January 10th, a makeshift memorial had begun to form near Mia's home. Friends, clients, and community members placed flowers, candles, and photographs at the edge of the police perimeter. Several of Mia's nail clients arrived wearing designs she had created for them, a poignant tribute to her artistic talent. Social media platforms quickly filled with tributes to Mia, with the hashtag #JusticeForMia trending locally. Many posts referenced her previous shooting, expressing outrage that someone who had already survived such trauma would fall victim to gun violence again. As the first day of investigation drew to a close, detectives had already begun reviewing Mia's social media history, focusing particularly on identifying the user known as Youngster, who had engaged in the heated exchange during her final broadcast. What state or country are you watching from? Has your community experienced similar tragedies where social media conflicts escalated to real-world violence? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The investigation into Mia Nickson's murder quickly centered on the digital footprint she left behind. Detective Williams assembled a specialized team that included digital forensics experts, traditional homicide investigators, and community liaison officers to piece together the events leading to her death. The Facebook Live video became the cornerstone of the investigation. Forensic technicians enhanced the audio and video quality, allowing investigators to document every comment made during the heated exchange. They paid particular attention to the username Youngster and the threatening messages he had posted. Using Facebook's metadata, they confirmed the account had been active for approximately 3 years and had interacted with Mia's profile multiple times in the weeks preceding her murder. A breakthrough came when detectives recovered Mia's smartphone from her bedroom. The device was unlocked using fingerprint data obtained during autopsy procedures, a standard but crucial investigative technique. Inside her call log, investigators discovered a 2-minute incoming call received at 1:32 a.m., just minutes after she ended her Facebook Live. The number was registered to a prepaid phone with no subscriber information, but cell tower data placed the caller within a half-mile radius of Green Crest Turn at the time of the call. Even more significant was a voice recording application on Mia's phone that had been activated at 1:33 a.m. Whether Mia had deliberately recorded the conversation or accidentally triggered the app remains unknown, but the resulting audio file captured a male voice saying, "You think you can just put my business out there like that? I'm pulling up right now. Come outside." The voice in the recording became a critical piece of evidence. Forensic audio analysts isolated the speaker's distinct vocal patterns, noting a specific speech impediment, a slight stutter on words beginning with P and B sounds. This distinctive speech pattern would later help identify Damian McDaniel as the caller. Meanwhile, the physical evidence from the crime scene provided additional leads. The 5.9mm shell casings recovered from the street were processed for fingerprints and DNA. While no usable fingerprints were found, partial DNA was recovered from one casing, suggesting the shooter had manually loaded the magazine rather than using gloves. The neighborhood canvass yielded crucial witness testimony. A resident 3 houses down from Mia's reported seeing a dark blue Chevrolet Impala with distinctive aftermarket rims driving slowly through the area approximately 20 minutes before the shooting. The witness, who was returning home from a late shift, noted the vehicle because it passed him twice within a short time frame. Behavior he found suspicious enough to remember. Another significant break came through Birmingham's community tip line. An anonymous caller provided information about youngster, identifying him as Damian McDaniel, a 22-year-old from Fairfield, Alabama. The tipster claimed McDaniel had been boasting about handling that situation with Mia at a local gathering the day after the murder. The caller also mentioned that McDaniel drove a blue Chevrolet Impala with custom wheels, matching the description provided by the neighborhood witness. With this information, detectives ran McDaniel's name through law enforcement databases. They discovered he had a prior record including charges for assault and possession of an unregistered firearm. More importantly, they found that McDaniel was currently in custody at the Alabama Department of Corrections on an unrelated probation violation, having been arrested on January 12th, just 2 days after Mia's murder. Investigators obtained a warrant to search McDaniel's residence in Fairfield. Inside his apartment, they discovered a box of 9mm ammunition matching the brand and type used in the shooting. In the garage, they found cleaning supplies and evidence, suggesting a vehicle had recently been thoroughly cleaned. Neighbors confirmed that McDaniel drove a blue Chevrolet Impala, but the vehicle was not at the residence during the search. The vehicle was eventually located at a relative's property in Bessemer, Alabama. Forensic technicians processed the car, finding microscopic blood spatter on the driver's side door that DNA analysis later confirmed belonged to Mia Nickson. This physical evidence suggested that McDaniel had been close enough to Mia when firing the fatal shots for blood to reach his vehicle. The digital investigation continued to yield results. Detectives obtained records from McDaniel's cell phone provider, confirming his device had connected to the same tower as the prepaid phone that called Mia just before her murder. The movement of his phone also matched the timeline of the crime, showing it traveling from Fairfield to Birmingham, specifically to the tower nearest Green Crest turn, during the critical time frame. Perhaps most damning was the voice comparison analysis. Investigators obtained recordings of McDaniel's voice from previous police interviews and jail calls. When compared to the voice in Mia's phone recording, forensic analysts reported a 97% match in speech patterns, including the distinctive stutter on P and B sounds. By early February 2024, investigators had compiled enough evidence to present to the district attorney's office. The digital breadcrumbs from social media, the voice recording from Mia's phone, witness statements, vehicle identification, and forensic evidence from both the crime scene and McDaniel's possessions created a compelling case that Damian McDaniel was responsible for Mia Nickson's murder. Damian youngster McDaniel was not unknown to law enforcement before becoming the prime suspect in Mia Nickson's murder. At 22 years old, the Fairfield, Alabama resident had already accumulated a record that painted a troubling picture of escalating criminal behavior. Born and raised in the Birmingham metropolitan area, McDaniel had his first documented encounter with the juvenile justice system at age 15 for vandalism and trespassing. By 18, he had graduated to more serious offenses, including assault and illegal possession of a firearm. Court records showed a pattern of probation violations and failure to appear for scheduled hearings, suggesting a persistent disregard for legal authority. McDaniel's connection to Mia Nickson wasn't immediately apparent to investigators. The two had no documented relationship in their social media histories, beyond occasional interactions in comment sections of mutual friends' posts. However, as detectives pieced together information from community sources, a clearer picture emerged of their connection. According to statements gathered from acquaintances of both parties, McDaniel and Mia moved in overlapping social circles centered around Birmingham's local music and nightlife scene. They had reportedly encountered each other at several events in the months preceding the murder, though witnesses described these interactions as casual rather than indicating any close relationship. The alleged robbery that sparked the fatal confrontation occurred approximately 1 week before Mia's murder. McDaniel had been at a local club where he allegedly flashed a significant amount of cash while purchasing drinks. According to police reports, he was robbed at gunpoint later that night in the parking lot, losing approximately $2,000 in cash and a gold chain. McDaniel apparently became convinced that Mia had set him up for the robbery after hearing from a mutual acquaintance that she had been overheard discussing his money situation shortly before he was targeted. This suspicion, whether founded or not, festered over several days before erupting in the Facebook Live confrontation that preceded Mia's murder. On February 15, 2024, after compiling the substantial evidence linking McDaniel to the crime, Detective Williams presented the case to the Jefferson County District Attorney's Office. After reviewing the evidence, prosecutors approved an arrest warrant charging McDaniel with intentional murder, a capital offense in Alabama. The timing of the warrant proved fortuitous for law enforcement. McDaniel was already in custody at the Bibb Correctional Facility, part of the Alabama Department of Correction system, serving a 90-day sentence for violating probation on a previous assault conviction. He had been arrested on January 12, 2024, just 2 days after Mia's murder, when a routine traffic stop revealed his outstanding probation violation warrant. On February 16th, Detective Williams and Officer Fitzgerald held a press conference announcing the murder charge against McDaniel. Through diligent investigation and with the cooperation of community members, we have identified and charged Damian McDaniel with the intentional murder of Mia Nickson, Williams stated. While this doesn't bring Mia back to her loved ones, we hope it begins the process of justice for her family. Officer Fitzgerald added, "This case highlights the importance of community cooperation. Tips from concerned citizens were instrumental in identifying the suspect and building this case." The legal process moved swiftly once the warrant was issued. McDaniel was transferred from Bibb Correctional Facility to Jefferson County Jail on February 18th to face the murder charge. During his initial court appearance on February 20th, he was formally charged with intentional murder under Alabama Code Section 13A6, 2, which carries potential penalties ranging from life imprisonment to death if certain aggravating factors are present. The judge denied bail, citing both the severity of the charge and McDaniel's history of probation violations as indicators that he posed a flight risk and potential danger to the community. McDaniel was appointed a public defender after declaring he could not afford private counsel. During this hearing, McDaniel maintained his innocence, speaking only briefly to answer the judge's procedural questions. His public defender indicated they would contest the evidence at trial, particularly questioning the reliability of the voice recording and witness identifications. The prosecution, represented by Assistant District Attorney Sarah Hoffman, outlined the state's position that this was a premeditated murder stemming from a misplaced accusation and fueled by a public confrontation on social media. The evidence will show that Mr. McDaniel made a deliberate decision to arm himself, drive to Ms. Nickson's residence, lure her outside, and take her life, Hoffman stated for the court record. As McDaniel was led back to his cell, the legal machinery of Alabama's justice system began preparing for what prosecutors anticipated would be one of the year's highest-profile murder trials, a case that would examine not just the physical evidence of a shooting, but the digital footprint that led directly to it. As of July 2025, Damian McDaniel remains in custody awaiting trial for the murder of Mia Nickson. The COVID-19 pandemic and subsequent backlog in the Alabama court system has delayed proceedings, with the trial now scheduled for September 2025. McDaniel continues to maintain his innocence through his legal team, who have filed multiple motions challenging the admissibility of certain evidence, particularly the voice recording from Mia's phone. Prosecutors remain confident in their case, citing the comprehensive collection of digital, physical, and testimonial evidence linking McDaniel to the crime. Jefferson County District Attorney's Office spokesperson confirmed they are not currently considering any plea arrangements and intend to pursue the maximum penalty available under Alabama law. In the Birmingham community, Mia's memory has been preserved through several initiatives. A mural featuring her portrait now adorns the wall of a beauty supply store, where she frequently purchased materials for her nail designs. The artwork, commissioned by local business owners who knew Mia, has become something of a memorial site where friends and community members leave flowers on significant dates. The beauty industry in Birmingham has also responded to the tragedy. On the anniversary of her death in January 2025, over 200 people gathered for a candlelight vigil at Birmingham's Railroad Park. Speakers included Mia's family members, former clients, and anti-violence advocates who emphasized the importance of resolving conflicts peacefully. While the event honored Mia's memory, it also served as a somber reminder of how quickly disputes can escalate with tragic consequences. For Mia's family, the path forward has been marked by both grief and determination to see justice served. They have attended every court proceeding related to McDaniel's case, often wearing custom T-shirts bearing Mia's image and the phrase "Justice for Mia." Family representatives have worked closely with victim advocacy groups to navigate the complex legal process while processing their loss. The case has drawn attention to how social media disputes can translate into real-world violence, with Birmingham Police Department incorporating Mia's story into their community outreach programs aimed at young adults. Officer Fitzgerald noted in a recent interview, "What happened to Mia Nickson should remind us all that words exchanged online can have devastating consequences offline." As the legal process continues toward its conclusion, Mia's story stands as a powerful reminder of a life cut short. A talented young woman whose future was stolen in the aftermath of a digital dispute that spilled tragically into the real world. What do you think about this case? Let me know your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe to Dark Trace Crime Stories for more in-depth true crime coverage.